Okay. So normally I don't generally try to dog someone on their opinion, you know? Like even if I don't agree with it, it is what it is. But the person I'm going to be sitting there talking about today, the reason why I'm sitting there talking about this is because this has been a problem for a hot minute, right? This isn't the first time that people have sat there and looked at clips from old shows or their takes on those shows like Seinfeld, stuff that happened in the 90s, and try to apply the mindset of how we are today from stuff that happened in the 90s. Now, I've never heard of this chick. Her name is Ari Lennox or something like that. She wound up doing an interview. This is a piece of the interview. But I heard she got roasted heavily on social media. And when you watch this clip, you understand why.
Thing that pissed me off about Martin was how much he would go on Pam. Like I know, like and this is coming from a girl who I love me a good like joking ass movie, and it even when the joking movie is like damn, like that was fucked up, like I'm not like too woke or something is what I'm trying to say. Like I'm honestly not I'm problematic. I'm pretty problematic, low key. But my point is that there are some things where I draw the line and it just bothered me. Or like I don't know. It's like Pam was so fucking beautiful and so fine, and I just feel like growing up as a chocolate girl, like I don't even know if I was able to understand the greatness of Pam because of the light that I feel like I was being fed. You know what I'm saying? Like of just like always going on Pam, always like that's all I remember. And I didn't like that. But like so I feel conflicted because while I feel like this show is incredible and I feel like Martin is a legendary show and all of the actors and Tommy and like everybody like legendary, amazing, like I adore them all. Like you have no idea. And I adore Martin. Like I adore him. It just would piss me off. Like the joking on Pam. I just didn't like that, you know? Like I'll always kind of feel a way about that. Like, thing that pissed me off about.
Okay, so wow. There's a lot wrong in all of that. Now, when I when I watched that clip or whatever, somebody made a comment basically snitching saying RIP comedy, right? And I'm just like, whatever happened to the days where comedy was actual comedy and it didn't piss people off? You know, some people would sit there and say that her generation, our generation, or whatever, are considered snowflakes. And then when you hear this woman talk, you're like, yeah, I can see where they're coming from. Which, by the way, I love how she sits there and says that, she's not too woke, and then proceed to sit there and make a very woke statement. Now, there's so many different ways I could sit. There's so many different takes I could sit there and go on this. And we'll start off with, um, first of all, why are you bringing color into this? There's not one point in that show where Martin sits there and talks about Pam's color. I've heard jokes in there where they talk about color or whatever, but like there's not one point in time where he talks about the color of her skin. So I don't understand why she keeps bringing up, oh, well, she's such a beautiful dark-skinned woman and growing up as a dark-skinned woman or whatever. What does you growing up as a dark-skinned woman have anything to do with Martin and Pam going back and forth with each other? And another thing that I really take issue with her is that the same issue that I take with some women, and I do use the word some. You notice that the thing that she got angry about, the thing that pissed her off was the comments and the jokes that Martin made, but she never once sat there and said anything about the jokes and the comments that Pam made. You know, Pam would sit there and talk about his breath. Pam would sit there and talk about his ears. Pam would sit there and talk about his looks. Pam would sit there and constantly sit there and joke on him, right? But yet she only took offense when, when Martin would sit there and say jokes about Pam, right? Isn't she shouldn't she be the type of woman that talks about equal rights, this, that, and the third when it comes towards treating, being treated as equally as men? So that only applies in certain sections, right? Like that's something that's just always have bothered me, right? But okay. Also, did she not forget that she's watching the comedy? Like that's the whole stick. That's the whole thing that makes it work. Is that those two joke on each other? Which, by the way, there was a lot of other jokes that went in there too. Tommy not having no job, Gina having a big head, um, Cole just being a goddamn idiot. I love how all that stuff just went over her head. It's like, people choose selectively when to be offended by stuff. And again, I've seen those same standards. I've seen people get upset with Seinfeld for jokes and stuff like that that was told in the 90s. It was the 90s. No one's not there saying that everything that they said was right. I mean, hell, one of my favorite shows was Married with Children, and I could sit there and look back at some of those jokes and be like, yeah, no. But I'm not going to go on social media and be like, I'm offended about some show that wound up happening about 15 years ago. Like I said, I've never heard of her before. And it's funny that she sit there and said that she is quote unquote problematic. You're not private. Well, could be problematic. But my issue with her is that she represents a group of people that get very, first of all, gets very easily offended at comedy, right? Like, girl, they're jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're the only person that's not there taking this shit that serious. And again, it's something that happened like 20 something years ago. About 15, 20. I forgot when that show came out, but it's like, stop. Like, just stop. Anyway, I can understand why people was sitting there looking at her after she said the dumb shit that she said, and people being like, "The hell is wrong with you?" Anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna go. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. I'll see you in the next video.